The average American car gets junked at 156,000 miles. Meanwhile, in Japan, it is completely normal for ordinary drivers in ordinary cars to blow past 300,000 miles without breaking a sweat. Some hit 500,000 miles. A few have crossed the million-mile mark on the original engine. A man in New Zealand drove his 1993 Toyota Corolla over 1.2 million miles. Same engine, same transmission, same drivetrain he drove off the lot with. A woman in Wyoming has put 611,000 miles on her 2007 Corolla. Original engine, original transmission. The only major thing she replaced was the alternator, and that was because she was driving home in 27 degrees below zero weather, and it fried. So, what is the secret? Is it Japanese engineering? Partly, yes, but here is the thing nobody wants to hear. Japanese cars do not last longer because they are built better. They last longer because they are treated better. And the method behind how they are treated is so simple, so boring, that most people completely ignore it. That is exactly why their cars die at 150,000 miles, while these cars keep going to 500,000. Today I am breaking down the exact Japanese method, step by step. I promise you, after watching this, you will never look at your car the same way again. The one secret is this: it is not one habit. It is a system. The Japanese approach to car longevity is rooted in something they do not even think of as a car thing. It is a cultural mindset. In Japan, there is a concept woven into daily life: continuous, small improvements applied consistently over time. Not dramatic overhauls, not emergency repairs after something breaks. Just steady, deliberate, ongoing attention. Applied to cars, this philosophy turns into a maintenance system that catches problems months before they become catastrophic failures. And it starts before the car even moves. Step 1. The 30-second warm-up. This is the very first thing Japanese high-mileage drivers do differently, and it sounds almost too simple. Before driving, they let the engine idle for 30 to 60 seconds. That's it. Not 10 minutes like your grandfather used to do, just half a minute. Here's why this matters. When your engine is cold, the oil sitting in the oil pan is thick and sluggish. It hasn't circulated yet. The moment you start the engine and immediately floor it out of the driveway, you are forcing metal components to grind against each other with almost no lubrication. Do this every single morning for 5 years, and you will have added thousands of unprotected start cycles to your engine's wear total. Japanese high-mileage drivers give the oil 30 to 60 seconds to circulate through the engine before putting it under any load. Then, they drive gently for the first few minutes, keeping the engine revolutions per minute low until everything reaches operating temperature. It is not overly cautious driving. It is just deliberate. One owner of a 1971 Toyota Corolla with over 610,000 miles on it said his #1 rule was exactly this: warm up the car for 1 minute in summer, 2 minutes in winter. Step 2. Smooth, deliberate driving. This ties directly into the warm-up, but it extends to every single mile. Japanese drivers who rack up extreme mileage do not drive slowly. They drive smoothly. They use gradual acceleration and early braking so smooth, it barely feels like braking. They keep the engine in its comfortable RPM range, rather than constantly lugging it in too high a gear or redlining it in too low a gear. This is not about being a grandma on the road. It is about reducing stress on every mechanical component in the car: your transmission, your brakes, your engine mounts, your CV joints. Every aggressive launch from a stoplight, every hard brake at the last second, every jackrabbit acceleration onto the freeway is all cumulative wear. It feels like nothing in the moment. Over 200,000 miles, it is the difference between a healthy drivetrain and a $4,000 repair bill. Step 3. Oil changes based on how you actually drive. Here is where most Americans get it completely wrong. They follow the manufacturer's recommended oil change interval, typically every 5,000 to 7,500 miles. and they think they are covered. Japanese high-mileage drivers do something different. They adjust the interval based on how the car is actually being used. Short city trips and stop-and-go traffic destroy oil faster than highway miles. That is not an opinion. It is chemistry. Short trips mean the engine never fully reaches operating temperature. Moisture and fuel contaminate the oil. Acids build up. The oil breaks down faster. If you are mostly doing 5-mile trips to work and back in city traffic, your oil is degrading significantly faster than the manufacturer assumes. Japanese drivers who run high mileage know this. They change synthetic oil more frequently under harsh conditions, sometimes every 4,000 miles, and they do not wait for a dashboard light to tell them it is time. Some even send oil samples to a lab for analysis to check for metal particles and contamination. That sounds extreme until you realize an oil analysis costs about $30 and an engine replacement costs $5,000 to $8,000. Hey, before we get to the next steps, do me a favor. If you're learning something new, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Step 4. Replace all the fluids, not just the oil. This is where most car owners completely drop the ball. Oil gets all the attention, and for good reason. But your car runs on 5 or 6 different fluids, and every single one of them degrades over time. Transmission fluid, brake fluid, coolant, power steering fluid, differential fluid. Most people never touch these until something fails. Japanese high-mileage drivers replace them on a schedule, typically every 2 years or 30,000 miles, depending on conditions. And here is a stat that should genuinely scare you. According to industry data, cooling system problems are responsible for 40 to 50% of major engine failures. Not oil, coolant. The antifreeze sitting in your radiator right now has corrosion inhibitors that are slowly being consumed. Once they are gone, the coolant turns acidic and starts eating the metal surfaces inside your engine. Corrosion builds up in the radiator tubes, restricts coolant flow, and eventually your engine overheats. A coolant flush costs about $100 to $150. A blown head gasket costs $1,500 to $2,500. A complete engine replacement? You already know. Transmission fluid is the same story. Most people have never changed their transmission fluid in their entire life. The fluid turns dark, burns, and loses its lubricating properties. By the time you notice harsh or jerky shifts, the damage is already done. Japanese high-mileage drivers replace transmission fluid before problems show up, not after. Timing belts get swapped at the manufacturer's recommended interval. No exceptions. Because if a timing belt snaps on an interference engine, the pistons slam into the valves. That is not a repair. That is an engine rebuild or replacement. Step 5. Fuel system cleaners. Every 10,000 kilometers. This is a small habit that adds up enormously over time. Japanese high-mileage drivers add a fuel system cleaner to their tank roughly every 10,000 kilometers, which is about 6,200 miles. It keeps the fuel injectors clean and combustion efficient. A bottle of quality fuel system cleaner costs about $10 to $15. Clogged or dirty fuel injectors cause poor fuel economy, rough idling, misfires, and eventually damaged catalytic converters. A catalytic converter replacement runs $1,000 to $2,500. This is a $10 fix that prevents a $2,000 problem, and most people skip it because it does not feel urgent. Step 6. Address strange noises immediately. Here's a big cultural difference. In America, when a car starts making a weird noise, a lot of people turn up the radio. Seriously, a tick, a clunk, a squeal, a rattle. Most people ignore it until the car physically won't drive anymore. Japanese high-mileage drivers treat every new noise as a diagnostic opportunity. One expert, who logged over 700,000 miles on his vehicle, said that by catching a failing timing chain tensioner early, he replaced an $80 part instead of facing a $2,000 engine rebuild. That's not luck, that's attention. Every noise your car makes is information. A squeal from the brakes means the pads are wearing. A ticking from the engine could be a lifter issue or low oil pressure. A clunk from the suspension could be a worn ball joint that is about to fail catastrophically. The difference between a $200 repair and a $3,000 repair is often just a few weeks of ignoring a sound. Step 7. Replace belts and hoses before they fail. Rubber components dry out, crack, and eventually snap. Serpentine belts, radiator hoses, heater hoses. These parts deteriorate from heat and age regardless of mileage. Japanese high-mileage drivers inspect these at every oil change and schedule replacements typically every 60,000 miles or 5 years, whichever comes first. A serpentine belt costs about $25 to $75 for the part. If it snaps while you're driving, you lose your power steering, the alternator, the water pump, and the AC compressor all at once. You're now stranded on the side of the highway with a car that's rapidly overheating. That's a $25 part turning into a potential $3,000 disaster because nobody looked at it. Step 8. Keep the car clean inside and out. This may sound cosmetic, but it is not. Regular washing prevents salt, dirt, and road grime from corroding the undercarriage, the brake lines, and the body panels. Rust does not just look bad, it weakens structural components. It eats through brake lines, and it can compromise the vehicle frame. Japanese drivers also keep the engine bay clean. That prevents dirt from trapping heat against wiring and rubber components, accelerating their deterioration. A clean car is not vanity, it is preservation. Step 9. The maintenance log. This is arguably the single most powerful habit in the entire system, and it's the one Americans are least likely to adopt. Japanese high-mileage drivers write everything down. Every oil change, every fluid flush, every noise that appeared and when it went away, every repair, every part number, every mileage marker. Over years, this log becomes an incredibly detailed history of the vehicle. Patterns emerge. You can see that the brakes wear faster on the front left. You can track how quickly the oil darkens between changes. You notice that a particular noise started right after a certain repair. This kind of documentation catches problems early and prevents things from slipping through the cracks. More importantly, it represents a mindset. The car is not a disposable appliance you use until it breaks. It is a machine that responds directly to how well you maintain it. The habits are secondary to the attitude behind them. Japan's Kaizen system, why it forces this mindset. There is a structural reason why Japanese drivers maintain their cars so meticulously. Japan has a mandatory vehicle inspection program called Kaizen. Every vehicle over 250 cubic centimeters must pass this inspection. For new cars, the first inspection is after 3 years, then every 2 years after that. And this is not some quick glance at the tires and a sticker on the windshield, like a lot of state inspections in the U.S. Kaizen is a rigorous 60-point inspection covering everything from suspension components and wheel alignment to emissions, undercarriage condition, brake performance, and exhaust integrity. A typical Kaizen inspection for a standard passenger vehicle runs between $800 and $1,600, including mandatory insurance and weight tax. If your car fails any part of the inspection, you have to repair it to pass. You cannot legally drive a vehicle without a current Kaizen certificate. Inspection costs increase as cars age because older vehicles need more work to pass. This system creates a financial incentive to keep the car in excellent mechanical condition at all times. And it is one of the main reasons why used Japanese cars exported around the world are in such remarkably good shape, even with significant mileage. The results speak for themselves. Victor Shepard drove his 2007 Toyota Tundra over 1 million miles in just 9 years on the original engine and transmission. Toyota was so impressed they traded him a brand new Tundra so they could tear it apart and study the components. Mike Neal drove his 2008 Toyota Tacoma to 1.6 million miles. The first engine lasted 880,000 miles. The transmission made it to 1.3 million miles. A 2019 Toyota Corolla Hybrid logged 481,000 miles in 5 years, driven by a delivery contractor doing roughly 700 miles per workday. original engine, original hybrid battery. A postman in Georgia drove his Toyota Corolla to 939,000 miles on the original engine and transmission, commuting 154 miles round trip every single workday for 23 years. These are not anomalies. These are the result of consistent, disciplined maintenance habits applied over time, the same habits I just walked you through. The average American car gets junked at 156,000 miles. New cars average over $48,000. The question is not whether you can afford a new car. It is whether you can afford not to take care of the one you have. The Japanese method is not complicated. It is 30 seconds of patience, a $10 bottle of fuel cleaner, and changing fluids before they fail. The secret to 500,000 miles is not a miracle product. It is discipline. That's all for today. If you found value in this, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Drop your car's mileage in the comments. Are you treating your car the Japanese way, or are you just waiting for the check engine light? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.